Welcome to this third and last by now session of the workshop on the identification of mosquito images. Thank you all for having come. We have organized this to be a series of 3 online sessions of digital entomology to discuss and identify mosquitoes based on real mosquito alert images under the guidance of an expert entomologist. The first 2 sessions was Francis Schaffner doing it. And today the expert is Kornélia Kurucz. Good morning, Kornélia. Thanks for being here and for sharing with us your knowledge about this species. And we are going to hold this monographic session on Aedes japonicus and 2 different forms of Aedes coraicus. And afterwards, to do it interactive, we are going to analyze photos from the mosquito alert system, as I said. And in this case, after the explanation, Kornélia is going to share the screen with the picture, and Roger is going to put the pictures in the chat, as you can download them and zoom in and zoom out to analyze them. We are going to give 5 minutes for you to look at them and to be able to comment things in the chat or characteristics you can see or the species identification. And afterwards, Kornélia is going to comment on the photo. We are probably going to continue with this kind of workshops because we have very nice feedback and we are hoping they are useful for all of us, but probably after the summer or later. So, well, I think most of you have participated in one of the last sessions we had, but in case you have any doubt, please feel free to ask us. And otherwise, I leave the floor to Roger to introduce us Kornélia.
Okay, thank you very much, Isis, and thanks, a big thanks to Kornélia as well for helping us and in this kind of very interesting activities. Just a presentation of Kornélia is she's an assistant professor actually at the Institute of Biology of Faculty of Science at the University of Pécs, which is by the way, one of the oldest universities in Europe, dating back 14th century. So at present, her scientific interest is in urban ecology and human-mediated effects on animal communities. And she's carrying out research activities for the latest 7 years, focused on the ecological background of zoonoses and vector-borne diseases. She has also very significant experience in field sampling methodologies and investigation of pathogens with molecular biology techniques and others. She's also coordinating several projects on vector ecology, monitoring, and taxonomy. And she is actually a recognized expert in Hungarian Aedes invasive mosquito species and very especially of Aedes coraicus. So we are delighted to have you here, Kornélia, and she will explain us and she will highlight the differences and the outcomes of these 2 species, which are Japonicus and Coraicus, and that are even made more complex because of the presence of 2 different forms in Europe of the Coraicus, which this is a paramount relevance for our purposes in digital entomology, because in the EntoLab Mosquito Alert, we are getting some troubles actually with these species because, as you know, they are quite similar. And well, this led us to define a separate category for the cases in which we couldn't distinguish Japonicus from Coraicus, which is, it can be seen in the map as Japonicus Coraicus complex or combo. So, and those of you who are experts in mosquito alert, you can select Japonicus or Coraicus. Each one of them can be declared in the probability level sure or probably, but you can also select the combo category, which is just one of the 2, but I wouldn't dare to say which one of the two species. This has translated actually, by the way, in the artificial intelligence. So we are struggling. Human experts are struggling with this. Likewise to many other species complexes that we find in the world, but it's not strange. It's no news that artificial intelligence has also same problems. So we are getting artificial intelligence automated alerts in Europe, so that many of you will be receiving alerts on the Japonicus coraicus complex. And maybe they are not real alerts because they are just Japonicus, which is quite more widespread than coraicus. But we are issuing alerts at present for, in the sake of caution, just to be in the safe side, because the case it could be Aedes coraicus, because the machine is not still able to distinguish efficiently the two species. We are working on that actually. We are generating a data set of pictures of both the species, just to train the machine in the new generation of the neural networks, just to help this and to try to do a better job in the automated part of the system. So that's long story short, we're improving, and Kornélia will help us to improve as well. Today, as humans, we are learning from her knowledge. So thanks again, Kornélia, and I leave you the floor for your explanation.
Hey, hi everyone. Thank you, Roger, for this very nice introduction and for the very nice words. I share my screen and just please give me a feedback that you can see my screen and in the right mode.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so now I can't see the chat, but maybe I will see it somehow. Okay, so as Roger said, now we focus on these two species, Aedes japonicus and coraicus, and for these two different morphological forms of coraicus. But before we just jump into the middle of identification and characterization, I would also say just a few words about my relationship with mosquitoes. As Roger said, I made my PhD in ecology, and that time I worked with birds. I deal with birds and mainly urbanization studies, but no mosquitoes. And my first connection with mosquitoes was when I joined to the virology research group, and when we started to work with vector-borne and zoonotic diseases. And my first connection with invasive mosquitoes was when we accidentally found an Aedes coraicus specimen in our city. It was accidentally because before that, during 2 years, we tried to catch Aedes albopictus close to the country border, but we couldn't find it. We visited the typical point of entry sites, but we really didn't find any albopictus in that area. And we just gave up because we had no more efforts or time to catching albopictus. And we started a monitoring program in the city of Pécs, where we are living. And in the first year, we just found coraicus in our traps. And since that, we have an established population, I can say, and we have the chance to investigate better and just know more information about that species. And of course, because it was a very interesting species for us, we turned to this direction. We focused more on invasive mosquitoes, and that's why we joined to the AIM-COST action, and through the action we met also the Mosquito Alert program and the application. And in the next year, we participated in the establishment of this harmonized monitoring protocol, the AIM-SURF protocol, and that time was when we joined to the EntoLab community also. And since that, I'm the national expert in our country. So, and we are here. So about this species, I think I don't need to introduce the two species, because all of us are clear that they arrived from Asia. So they are native in Asia. Aedes japonicus arrived or reached Europe around 2000, first in France, then in Belgium, Switzerland, Germany, and so on, and spread relatively fast across the continent. while Kornélia was arrived a little bit later. It was found for the first time in Belgium, in Europe, and that time it was also described, or it was also highlighted, that the origin of the population arrived to Europe was a small island south of South Korea. I just try to show, so that's the small island. And later it appeared in Italy, Switzerland, and other countries. And in all cases, it was characterized based on morphology or based on genetics. It was they were characterized as the same or similar population to the Belgian population. So we found the species here in Hungary. We found it in 2016. And the same year, it was also found in Germany, but these specimens that the German colleagues found looked a little bit different compared to the Belgian population, but I will talk about that later. So because in Europe we got this island form, or this morphological form that originated from this island, both the ECDC guideline, the technical report, the guidelines for invasive mosquito surveillance, focused on that morphological characteristics, and also from the Mosquito Alert system, you can or you know these morphological keys. So there are only tiny differences between Japonicus and Kornélia. The first difference is visible on the thorax, where they have several 5 stripes or lines with golden coloration, and the middle behind this middle line, we can see that in case of Japonicus, these submedian lines are longer compared to Kornélia. On these figures or on these pictures, it seems very clear, but to be honest, if you see the real mosquito, sometimes it's hard to see these differences. And the other main difference is on the hind legs, where in case of Japonicus, we can see that the first, second, and the third segments, we can see these white rings or stripes, but the fourth and fifth segments are black. Compared to the Kornélia that arrived to Europe, we can see white rings on all the 5 segments of the end of the hind leg. Okay, so I think most of you, or most of us, know Kornélia with the morphological characteristics like that, but that's the tricky part when we will talk about the other form. So on real mosquito pictures, I just show the same, the thorax patterns. Here, I think it's very visible that in case of Japonicus, it's much longer compared to Kornélia, where it's relatively shorter. And we can see also the differences between the hind legs. Here, just 3 white rings. The 4th and 5th segments are black, or just a tiny white spot is visible, compared to Kornélia, where all the 5 segments has these white rings. But there is one more difference between Kornélia and Japonicus that was highlighted by German colleagues as well, that in case of Japonicus, we can see a black spot on the base of the hind leg. That's missing in case of Kornélia. And that's also interesting that in case of the 2 different forms of Kornélia, it's the same. Okay, so for me, it was interesting, or okay, it's not the good word, interesting. I was a little bit shocked when I realized that we really had knowledge on these different forms, but we didn't use that knowledge. I mean, the first emergence of the species in Belgium was with the origin of this island, and the Belgian colleagues who investigated Kornélia, they already mentioned in their paper in 2012 that a Korean entomologist, Tanaka, mentioned a number of morphological differences between specimens collected on the mainland, on the Korean peninsula, or in this island. And when the Belgian colleagues identified the origin of their population, they mentioned that literature, so that knowledge, and they also published a picture where they compared the Kornélia specimen was found in Belgium, Kornélia specimen from the Peninsula Korea, and compared to a Japonicus. And here you can see also the same differences that we can see or not, these white stripes on the fourth and fifth segments of the hind leg. And here is also, in case of Japonicus, we can see this black tiny spot at the base of the hind leg, while in case of the Kornélia forms, it's missing. So it was not a new information. We already know that, just didn't take more attention on that. And when in Germany, the German colleagues found also Kornélia, and based on morphology, they found that this newly discovered population showed different morphological characteristics compared to the Belgian or Italian or other populations. They expected that they arrived from an independent introduction. Of course, it was not, it's very hard to prove that, but we expect that we have several independent introductions into Europe. So not just first arrived population to Europe, then spread across the continent, but we can face to independent more introductions as well. And the German colleagues in their paper also showed the same characteristics. So compared the German population, the German Kornélia specimen to Japonicus, and here is the black spot again that's missing in case of Kornélia, and on the hind leg they showed that the white ring was on the fourth segment, but the fifth one was black. And in case of Japonicus, both the fourth and fifth segments are black. And they highlighted also a further difference between Japonicus and Kornélia on the side of the thorax. But to be honest, it's very hard to see these differences. I mean, it's the missing or the presence or absence of these white pairs, but it's very hard to see on field collected mosquitoes, because sometimes it's missing because just destroyed the mosquito in the trap. Okay, and it's an off topic, just I thought it's interesting to show that we made a pan-European population genetic study on Kornélia, where we asked for specimens from all the countries where we know that Kornélia is present. And based on that haplotype analysis, it was a very simple analysis, we found that the German population separated a little bit from the other populations. And that point, we also realized that, yeah, maybe the different morphological form, behind the different morphological form, there is a different introduction or a independent introduction to the continent, and maybe there are some genetic differences also between the two forms. So after that, it's of course a good question that which form is present or spreading better, or does it matter anything from the biological point of view? In Hungary, we found first also this island form, this Jeju-do form, and later we found also the other form that was similar to the German population. And it was also accidentally, I would say, that since 2016 we have a continued monitoring program in the same place, in the same city. So we trapping mosquitoes year by year at the same places. So I can say that it's more than sure that this mainland form appeared in Hungary only in 2021. But interesting that we can catch both forms in the same trap. Also in ovid traps, we can find that both morphological forms emerged from eggs from the same ovid trap. So we really don't know what does it mean from the biological point of view. So it's a good topic to investigate further. But just to just summarize the characteristics, you can see that they really look similar, both Japonicus, Kornélia, and of course the two forms of Kornélia. And the based on pictures, so in the Entolab, it's very complicated to say or identify well these species because most cases we can't see the thorax, or it's very hard to say that it's Kornélia or Japonicus. But if we can see the hind legs, the whole part of the hind legs, then it can help to distinguish them. So I can say that that's our only chance to say something really strict result, if we can see these 3 white rings or 4 or 5 on the hind legs. So it's really tricky. And as Roger already mentioned, in the Entolab, it's very important to distinguish somehow these species, because we see that Japonicus has a more widespread in Europe compared to Kornélia, but Kornélia is also spreading, maybe because we focus more on that species as well. But in several cases, we can't say which species we can see on the picture. So we use this combo category. That's fine. But as Roger said, it's very important to if we would like to draw on distribution maps of the species, not the complex, then we need to separate them somehow. And it's very important also to train the artificial intelligence to separate them, because we're talking about different species with different biology, behavior, and different vector competencies. So the public has point of view, the risk of public health, it's not the same in case of this species. So it's important to distinguish them somehow. And in some cases on the pictures, it's easy. For example, here we can see very nice thorax pattern that it's typical for Japonicus, and we can see also the hind leg with the white 3 white rings, but the end of the leg is black. Or in case of this picture, we can see that there's more white rings, although the thorax pattern is not the best, but we can say that it's a Kornélia or Japonicus. And here is an example for a combination, a combo picture, where we even can see these lines we have to see, and we are not sure that the whole leg is visible or not. So that's the tricky part. And yeah, from my side, the presentation was that. So I would like to thank your attention until now in the name of our Hungarian Mosquito Alert group. So we are behind the ENTOLab from our country. And even not only in the ENTOLab, but also during research studies, it's important to just to know that it can be seen different characteristics than as usual or as more common in Europe. For example, in Slovenia, they found Kornélia in their country, like they retrospectively investigated some Japonicus specimens, because when we described the first emergence of Kornélia in Hungary, and we are relatively close to Slovenia, they didn't understand how we got Kornélia if they don't have, and they just checked back their samples, their Japonicus samples, and based on genetics, they found some Kornélia from previous years. Yeah, so it's tricky.
Yeah.
I have a question related to what Maria was asking, actually. Now that you have the two different forms of Kornélia in the asymmetric and the same area,
Yes.
what about inbreeding? Do you, as you are raising them from the egg just for morphological separation, and I understand you don't breed continuously the mosquitoes in your lab, but I'm curious to see if there's any evidence or you have any insight, or if these two forms can inbreed and you can have even more complex forms, intermediate ones.
Yeah, I'm also curious. we couldn't do that because we have a very simple laboratory where we can just in cages we can rear them, but the conditions are not the best for produce more generations, because we can't at this moment we don't have a room where we can control the humidity or temperature or anything. So actually that laboratory is very warm and dry, and it's very tricky to keep them alive. So that's why we couldn't do that yet, but it's a plan.
Do you have any idea on what could happen in the field now they are in the same places, the two forms? Or
I think they breed. I think they breed. Yeah.
Maybe we can end up with many different forms of Kornélia with different numbers of white rings. Maybe Kornélia with 17 or 20 white spots in the legs, or is that going too far?
I don't know.
That's what's about coding.
Yeah.
If you want, Kornélia, we can start examining cases, real cases from Mosquito Alert, and discussing them.
Okay, and I share again my screen. You can see?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to load it in the chat as well.
For the opinions in the chat, we have 8 people. We have unanimity, 8 experts saying that this is Aedes kornélia. And there's someone saying that we can see 4 or 5 segments in the legs, 4 or 5 white segments in the legs, the little black spot on the femur, and in the thorax there are short golden stripes. So it should be kornélia, but let's see what Kornélia can tell us.
Based on the ENTOLab, it was a combo picture, but I would say also it's a Kornélia. And I think all the comments are good. So yes, we I don't know how to use this. Yeah, now you can see my mouse.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, we can see the 3 white rings very clear, but there is also a 4th one, or maybe a 5th one as well. It's not so clear, but the 4th one, I think it's visible. It was a very good comment that there's not this black spot on the femur. And based on the thorax, yes, I would also say it's short lines here. So it's mainly Koreicus than Japonicus. But in the system, it was a combo picture, maybe because it was not so clear. Okay, but I think all the comments voted on Koreicus.
Now, I think in the Entolab, the experts were a bit puzzled with that last ring, white ring, which is not very visible.
Yeah.
And you know, pictures are not of very good resolution, and this one is the background doesn't help because it's spotty. It's lots of small white patches, so that maybe it was not the clearest one. But I agree also.
Yep.
So we can shift to the next one.
Okay.
There are some tricky ones actually.
Yes.
So here also we have everyone that has participated in the chat saying that is Japonicus, like people said it. But people is not quite sure. They have doubts on it, and they can see at max 3 white rings in the legs, in the hind leg, but not seeing the thorax. People opinion is that is difficult and that is not a clear specimen. So yeah. Afterwards, if anyone wants to raise the hand and comment on anything else, feel free. So Kornélia, maybe you can comment on this tricky picture.
Yeah, it's really tricky. Here I would say it's very strong contrast with the background. That's why even the not only the thorax is not visible, but other parts of the mosquito is also hard to see, and it's also hard to say which one is the third leg, the hind leg. But based on these white parts, yes, I would say also it's Japonicus maybe, but that's the type of picture where I'm not brave enough to say it's a Japonicus. So because we can't see any other signs, and it's also not clear on the legs, maybe I would say it's a combo. And in the system, it was also in the Entolab system, it was also signed as a combo, but would vote also to Japonicus because we can't see 4th and 5th white stripes, but we can see 3 at least. But yeah, it's a type of picture that I think it's not possible to say the species.
So maybe you would go for Japonicus probably, or you would choose the combo option?
I would choose the combo.
The combo, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a too brave choice. Say Japonicus probably.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we can shift to the next one, which is much clearer actually.
Yeah.
Next one is a very happy picture.
Yeah.
We guess this one doesn't really merit 5 whole minutes, so we can go forward.
Okay, if anyone else want to add something in the chat. So by now we have, with the last opinion, we have 10 people saying all that there is Japonicus. Also, someone opinion was with the thumbs up. It's okay if you want to say the same as the other person. 11 now. So yeah, everyone is saying that it's Japonicus, or because here no dog spot on the lateral of the thorax. This is a question, I think. The thorax lines are longer than in Koreicus, and we can observe the 3 bands on the leg, and same for the other people. So yeah, maybe you can add something else, Kornélia.
Yeah, I think it's also, I mean, I also think it's very clear based on the thorax. And although we are not sure that's the hind leg here, but it's clear that on the 4th and 5th segments it's black. So yes, I would vote also on Japonicus. But because we can't see the whole specimen, we can't see the whole body of the mosquito, it's also tricky. But based on the thorax itself, just like in case of Albopictus, if we can see very clear this one sign, we can say that it's sure that it's Japonicus, I would say. But it was also a combo picture in the
Brilliant.
and
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
I have to say I find this picture very interesting because it's obviously very made on a pure pose, as it not only shows very well the thorax, but if that's in the left is the third leg, if it's the hind leg, it's not in an anatomical position at all. It's impossible. That's a real position. So that leg was torn apart from the mosquito body, and looks like has been placed there on a purpose just to show it and to focus the exact place where the taxonomic character is. So it's very, very interesting from the user, because this picture comes probably from someone who knows very well how to do and how to look at in this case.
Yeah, that's why I said before the session, I said that I'm sure that my students used to upload pictures to the Mosquito Alert app, because yeah, I think I know this specimen.
Okay, it was you.
No, it wasn't me. To be honest, I don't use so often the app as a user, but my family and my students, they use it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
but yes, you are right. So it's probably made by someone who know that which characteristics we need to see.
I didn't really thought about that because, you know, there are so many users that are quite experts actually. And we got pictures taken by microscopes or stereo microscopes and special devices attached to mobile phones. And we have a lot of users, which you may probably have encountered some pictures from that origin. They are sending very, very elaborate reports and very nice pictures. So it's fun, and they are unknown people. They are just regular citizens.
Yeah.
We have a question in the chat about the combo option. No, what does it really mean? Because maybe it's a bit confusing. That's right. So, do you mean you can define the species level, or is it a mix of the two species? If you can explain it.
Yeah, it means we can't define the species level. So we are not sure that it's Kornélia or Japonicus because we can't see clear the characteristics. So it doesn't mean that it's a mix of the two species. It means we can't define the species.
Just to add on this, we had this experts meeting some days ago, and Zuko from our team it's analyzing the just for the sake of improving, no? If he's analyzing the decisions of the experts and how experts we validate the pictures and etc. And he find that the more difficult ones to say it's definitely this or that were Japonicus and Kornélia. So it's because of this we are doing this session, and because of this it's difficult, and we have this combo option.
We have another combo actually, which is for Albopictus versus Keratinus, which is not that one is not very widely used, but it's the same idea. If when we get species which are morphologically very similar, we can be sure it's one of the two, but we cannot say which one it is. So this way, we are not forcing experts to just vote for Japonicus or for Kornélia, because it would be a random draw practically. So that we created that category. It's been useful for Japonicus and Kornélia. It's not for Albopictus and Keratinus. So we'll get to the next picture.
Yes.
Wow, a painful one.
And it's also familiar.
Yeah.
Really? Oh,
Let us pinpoint that we are always stating in public communication and in the comments that we do not encourage people to being bitten because just for the sake of taking a picture, because this is a bit, there are lots of ethical worries and about this kind of things like human landing and this kind of activities with mosquitoes. This is nice, so we need to be worried, but we can't forget that people is actually bitten actually. So then we are just telling users, please don't, for the sake of a nice picture, don't risk your health. Actually. So we'll start with 5 more minutes. I think this we will need to have it enlarged a lot probably.
so we have the answers. We have had 10 people saying that it's Corecus. Everyone was with the same opinion. They can see the hind legs with a white spot. Some people could see 4, but other people, I think that most of the people could see 5. And then the short golden stripes. So yeah.
Yep. I think it's right. I mean, I would say also it's a Corecus because it's visible on the hind legs, at least 4. So we can say it's not a Japonicus because we can see at least 4 white rings, but the 5th one is very tiny. But at least we can see 4. But the thorax is not clear. So based on the thorax, we can't say anything. But based on the hind leg, it's Corecus. And for me in the Entolab, when I started to validate the pictures, it was also, I just a tip that it was also hard to thinking about native species. I mean, sometimes we focused on invasive species only, and we would say it's Japonicus, Corecus, or Albopictus. But if we have similar species in the native fauna, it can be tricky. But in that case, when we know that from which country we get the pictures, it was made in Hungary, and I know that here in Hungary we have no similar, I mean, we have no native species with similar patterns on the hind legs. So we have many Aedes species with white rings, but not with that pattern. So it's just a tip that consider that maybe it's not an invasive species, but a native one if you have similar species or with similar characteristics. But in that case, I can say that with that leg pattern, it can't be as only Corecus.
Just a question, Kornélia. You could say with this picture the form of the Corecus, or
I think no.
Okay.
Because yeah, if I focus on the end of the leg, maybe I can see a 5th white spot. But I'm not sure. And again, the background it's not helping with the fur. So yeah, based on that, no, I'm not brave enough again.
No, it should be difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, let's shift for the next one.
Okay.
So in this case, we have division between Corecus and Albopictus. In this case, I guess last cases we were like assuming that would be rather both Coraicus or Japonicus, but in this case, there are doubts on it, no? So maybe we have to step back a bit in the identification. For people saying Coraicus, they cannot see the black spot in the base of the femur. But also, there is comment on the incomplete hind leg. It seems, yeah, that is cut, and the rings are short. Also, the scales on the abdomen, for me, this lateral but the scales on the abdomen for me have this lateral and median pale patches at the base. There is another comment on this, and yeah, so there is this two options, Coraicus and Albopictus, and also some people saying Coraicus would choose the combo option.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these comments are very, very nice again. It's true that the leg is not complete. I would say that. But the base of the femur, it's hard to see again which leg is the hind leg, the third leg. I would say the left side of the mosquito, that's the hind leg. And this is the right side of the mosquito, maybe. And here it's not visible because the other leg is covering that part. But yeah, I would say it's not a black spot there, but it's again not clear. The thorax pattern is totally not clear, so we can't say anything about that. I mean, Coraicus or Japonicus, but I don't want to say Albopictus because these rings are very short in this case, and compared to Albopictus usually has wider white rings, maybe. But yeah, so based on that, I would say also that, yeah, at least Japonicus, but we can see the end of this leg, and in other case, it's also not clear, the last segments of the leg. So yeah, I would say combo in that case.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was also in the Entolabe combo category.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But on the abdomen, I don't know. Just to check the comment that the lateral median pale patches at the base. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want. I wouldn't say Albopictus for that.
Yeah, I agree. The legs are not really suggesting Albopictus in general. Okay, yeah. So it's already much that we have discussed about such a poor picture, actually. So there are many things that are missing here. So let's go to the next one.
Very interesting comments from everyone. Very nice, the participation in this chat, as in every report we are analyzing. Here we have 10 people saying it's Coraicus. There is no other option mentioned, because of the 5 white bands in the hind leg and then the short golden stripes in the thorax. But also, very interestingly, 2 people are saying that the form of this Coraicus is mainland. So very nice, because the first time we have an opinion on the form, which is very interesting. So please, Kornélia.
Yeah, it's a Coraicus, I would say also, but maybe it's made by ChatGPT. Roger wrote, yeah, we can, although we can't see the base of the leg, the femur, so we can't see the black spot is there or not, but we can see clear that which is the third leg, and we can see very clear at least 4 white rings. The 5th one here is not clear, this part of the leg, but on the other leg, I would say it's black. Someone wrote that can see 5 white bands. I think you thought that's the 5th one. but it's not that part of the leg. So that's the femur, and we count the segments from here. The first, second, third, fourth, and here is the fifth one. So it's not a white band, it's just the same part of the mosquito, like here. Just maybe because of the quality of the picture, it's more brightening. And here also. So we can see 4 white rings very clear. And yeah, based on that, I would say also it's mainland form. But this part of the leg is not so clear. So it's again just, I'm not brave enough to say it's a mainland form, but it's, yeah, maybe if we could see a better quality of this picture, it would be more clear. Related to the thorax, someone wrote that yeah, the golden lines look short enough, but to be honest, we don't see those lines we need to see. So that lines are, yeah, they are short, but the upper lines, it's not visible on that thorax. But if in case of Japonicus, I think we should see here the lines if they are long enough. But it's clear that it's not a Japonicus. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Any other comments on that?
No, I think we can shift to the next.
Okay.
In this case, we have all the opinions on the Koreiku side. People say that we can see the 4 white bands, the thorax, yeah, is not visible, and we cannot see the black spot on the base of the femur. So, and there are 3 people commenting on the form, which they say it's mainland, sorry. So yeah, this is it by now.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, the thorax is not visible, so it can't help us. We can see the femur very clear that there's no black spot, so it's not Japonicus, but Koreicus. And yes, we can see 4 white rings on that leg. The 5th one is black. But on the other leg, it's not so clear. I would say here, for example, I can't see the white, and here also not, but based on that leg is, I would say also, yeah, it's Koreicus. And yeah, maybe the mainland form.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think we have time for 1 or maybe 2 more cases. So let's go to the next one.
Very interesting comments. Here everyone is going to Japonicus, but there are difficulties in seeing the rings, no? Because people can see 3, maybe 4, but yes, we can see the photo is on a white background, so it might be difficult. Also about the thorax and the golden lines, someone was saying that they are a bit confusing. Sorry, I have it here. Someone about something about they arrive to the just where the apical line starts or just before, but a bit confusing. Yeah, that are summers that are not clear, so maybe we could choose combo Japonicus Koreicus. Yeah, so golden lines seem long enough. So there's a discussion here on this. So maybe
Yeah. Yeah, it's very nice to see how others thinking about when they try to identify a species. It was in the Entolab, it was characterized as Japonicus.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say also that it's a Japonicus, but I totally agree with the comments and why is it confusing, and maybe can be Koreicus as well. Yeah, based on the thorax pattern, I think these lines are long enough for Japonicus, but for that, it's always hard to see it's longer or shorter if we are not familiar with both species. I mean, it's because Koreicus, it's not everywhere. People who living in a country where it's not present, of course, they couldn't see too much Koreicus specimens during their work. So, but because we see both species very often, I can say that it's long enough for Japonicus, but yeah, it can be confusing. We can't see the femur, the black spot on the femur because it's hidden by the wing. But we can see, yes, at least 3 white rings. And I would say the 4th and 5th, it's black. But again, the quality of the picture is not the best because of this white background. It's blurry and it's hard to say that it's really black or just not visible. But I would say it's a Japonicus. But someone wrote an interesting comment that I didn't understand. Yeah, that it's Japonicus because of the golden stripes. But Koreicus has also golden stripes, so it's not enough to distinguish them.
Maybe they're referring to the length of the.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe we can verify it, and I don't know. But yeah, there was the length.
Length of them. Okay.
Okay, so I don't know if anyone wants to add something else. Otherwise,
we have a few minutes left. We have launched a new version of the public map in Mosquito Alert, and we noticed that we didn't publicize it a lot. So there are many people that don't even know there's a new version. So that we thought about this would be a chance we could take just to share the new map. Just to finish on about the taxonomic things of Koreicus, have to say I was just kidding myself and playing during the session and asked ChatGPT to build a genuine Aedes Koreicus individual. And this is what the artificial intelligence elaborated with as an Aedes Koreicus. This was I asked for detailed close-up, detailed Aedes Koreicus, full body, rear legs, visible top view together to Aedes Japonicus. Well, it just forgot to add Aedes Japonicus. And another one just issued these, which is kind of a damselfly mosquito. This is quite I'm sorry, just a joke, but it's very interesting to see what new technologies can do for they are not very helpful in this case, but they will probably be on the time. So for the public map, now I'm getting serious back again. This is a new map of Mosquito Alert. You find this in the new areas. If you enter mosquitoalert.com via the website, the link is pointing to this map. But if you were entering, you had the old map direct link, you still will go to the old map because both versions are coexisting. But I would strongly advise to use this one because it's much better. This is the screen you will get in 2. You have in the first place, you have a time selector, so you can check any interval of time you want from down 2014 to just today. And you can also select all data. So in this case, you have all database of Mosquito Alert. It's here. So then you have there are 3 main areas here for getting information. And the first place is the usual report locations. You can, as previously, you can select for Albopictus, Egypti, Japonicus, Koreicus, Culex pipiens, or unidentifiable pictures, and also for breeding sites, either other breeding sites or storm drains, both with or without water. And also you have the distribution of bites together to other species, which may be very interesting from time to time. And in general, this has not changed. So you ask for tiger mosquitoes, you have all reports from Albopictus during all these years. This also, well, this is that Kornélia showed you just the beginning of this session, or for Korean mosquitoes. Both Japonicus and Koreicus have included the combo category. So you have here this is, in this case, for a Korean Koreicus for sure, or probably, but this is for the combo category. So there is not a separate display button for the combo categories. And you have also storm drains, and but the best of all of this, you have here in the bottom, you have a time series, so that you can ask for a given period of time the reports per day, coming from the thing you have asked, the data you are displaying. This is raw data, and this is just the time series for this raw data. And this applies to any categories. You can also ask for bites, because as you know, now the app allows to report biting activity. There's still some strange things sometimes, like this one. There's a bite in the middle of the Mediterranean, which is probably a misconfigured cell phone or a user that who wouldn't want to reveal their position. But this is, and you have the time series also for this. Biting activity is providing a lot of information, and it's a very, very nice addition to the system. You have also other species, which are the species that cannot be determined by experts. You know that very well. And also the sampling effort, which is one of the best things we got just for modeling, because this allows us to provide an estimation of the validity. You don't know, if you don't have reports from friends, you don't know if it's because you have no French users or just because there are no mosquitoes in France. This helps us to model, and this is sensitive to the scale. Well, sampling effort is limited to cells for 2 by 2 kilometers because of privacy. And this is the part with the raw data of the system. But then in the second level, you can ask for distribution of the species. This is a raw distribution map. For instance, if you ask for tiger mosquito, you get the present distribution of Aedes albopictus in Europe, and this is mixed between two sources. This is combined by, you can adjust transparency just for graphical purposes, and this combined, and in red, it's a established category for ECDC and also for Mosquito Alert, but you have also an introduced category by ECDC maps. This is this kind of color. Then in another color, a bit darker color, you have introduced category by ECDC and also by Mosquito Alert. So we have our own criteria just to determine introduction or not. And then introduced or reported from Mosquito Alert. This does not mean necessarily established, as you know, because it's citizen science and it's quite visible in Spain. This map in Spain is at the municipality level, because now we are working at municipality level for Spain, and other European countries are the NUTS2 level, which is usually the province level. You have also, in case you have doubts, there's also information button. So we have a quite hefty help department just to clarify things, because some of this information must be interpreted. It's not immediate. And here you can see for instance, distribution of Aedes koreicus or Japonicus. This is what Kornélia showed you before. And the last label is about models. These are model data. It's not raw data, so that we have to take into account. You are also, sorry. Sometimes my screen is playing havoc. You must select species when models are time dependent. So you can select 1 year, for instance, in August 2021, and then apply, so that you will get the probability of one user reporting an Aedes albopictus per geographical unit during that period of time. You can check, you can use different color codes, getting the transparency, and also plot the uncertainty of these estimates, because each geographical area has an associated uncertainty. You know, here you have municipality levels for all Europe. And this is the kind of thing we are now working about. We are working it. It's sensitive to the scale, so that when you zoom in, the geographical level will also split into smaller sections. Just because it's not the same province, then you can check which municipalities in each province are contributing the most to the global probability in this area. Municipalities are the lowest scale models. And you have also here a complete explanation about what's the model, how these models are built, because they combine citizen data, of course, but they are also based on trapping, on land cover, and sociological parameters, and weather climatic data, of course. So there's also somewhere there's a help button where you have also very nice videos on what the function of everything. And you can also share the map, a specific view of this map with this button, so you get a link to this specific visualization, and change languages. We have 3 languages at the moment. The idea is to have as many languages as we have in the lab, but that will be very, very long term, because it's quite difficult to translate everything to 22 languages we have at present. Okay, that was all. That was. I encourage you to look at it, and while I am at it, I realize I didn't mention that you can also select geographic areas. So you can ask for Hungary. Then you have Hungary. That's no problem, and then any selection you made about, well, no yellow fever there, mosquito, happily. But you can select anything you want to display, and you will display in this geographical area. This is very useful, will be very useful for many of you who are being asking how many reports do you have there are in the system for my country. And this is quite difficult information to retrieve manually, but then you can get this from the map automatically. Even more, you can also request for smaller administrative units, like municipalities, actually, so that you can just check in the places where you want the exact municipalities. We can know smaller than municipality, because that's a minimum administrative unit. And you can also look by hashtags. If you know what these hashtags refer to, user hashtags, not to the hashtags we have been using in the lab to tag the reports. Well, I think I'm not forgetting anything. Thanks to your patience, is a little bit beyond 1 p.m. We thought it was interesting. We're trying to promote this map, because we know it's a tool which will be more useful than the previous one, but it's still a bit unknown, actually.
Have you explained how to download the data?
Oh no, sorry. That's thanks. This is the other thing I forgot, because I didn't prepare very much this one. You have these buttons here in the left, in the right to the bottom. Well, it depends on the configuration you have. Here you have the time series, but here you can download all data that is displayed in the map at this time. So I don't think there's a limitation on the number of the reports that can be downloaded. In the previous map, there were 300 reports that were limited to, but here there's no limit, and you can download as a geo package for importing directly in a GIS system, a geographic information system, or in Excel, and then you get a spreadsheet with all data for every report, you know. And also you can get a complete list of reports. Well, list of observation is still limited to 300, so we cannot get that many. But if we want, we go to a smaller area, Corsica, with only 2 reports of albopictus at present. So you get a different screen, which is a browser screen that opens additionally and contains all the data for the reports you have on screen. This is more useful for displaying purposes and for examining specific cases, but it's limited to 300 actually, because if not, we would be probably blowing up the computer's memory. And here you will have always a number of observations or reports that are displayed at a given time in the screen. And now I think yes, I think that we are done with all these kind of things. So thanks again for your patience, and I hope this will be useful for many of you. And it's probably time to say goodbye. We have exceeded a bit our allocated time. Thank you very much for your assistance, for your contribution, and just remember that we will advise when the recording is available in our servers, so that we can spread it. We have to edit just to anonymization. And it will be along the next weeks. We'll have all the 3 recordings from the WIMI sessions until now.
I don't know if Kornélia, you want to add something?
I just would say thanks for everyone who were here today, and I hope I could help a little bit to clarify these morphological forms. It's also not clear how to call these different forms, so there's no official taxonomical names for these forms. So maybe it would be a next step if we working on or we deal with both types, then it would be nice to use a standard names for them. So if anyone has any good idea for that, it's also good. So yeah, I hope I could help a little bit, and if anyone has any questions, you can find me. So
it was amazing, Kornélia. Thanks so much. I'm sure it was very useful for me, and I'm sure for everyone here. So thank you very much again.
Okay.
Everyone for the participation. So yeah, see you next time.
See you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a nice day.